Good afternoon. Y'all have to forgive me. Good afternoon. This is Corey Griffin and Leon with another episode of He Heals Too. All right, so this week, what we want to kind of talk about is the necessity of having a mentor. For a good part of my life, I did not feel like I needed another man to tell me. This is the way I saw mentorship. Another man to tell me how to be a man. I felt like, my experiences in life and my decisions don't nobody check for. I do what I want to do, and whatever I suffer through, if it don't work, I just have to go back to the drawing board and try it again. I don't need your experiences and your ideas of what I should be doing. I got it. What I learned is I failed a lot unnecessarily, right? Especially once I became a dad and got a little bit older, and I'm talking to my kids, and my kids came from me, right? So they have a lot of the same thought processes, and like, I got it. Like, you do what you're doing, I got this part over here, right? And so once I saw that, it's like, I need to change the way that I think and the way that I interact, because that's not always the best way, right? Some people have gone through things that they see me headed toward that they can warn me about. So when you think about men and mentorship, or having counselors, what necessity, what place does that have in your life?
For me, it is a great necessity.
Okay.
Everybody know I work for the FBI. Out of 36,000 employees, there's only 3,000 African Americans. But the whole group. It was vital to have somebody who already walked down the path that I'm headed down, to show me how to act, how to react, how to manage my emotions, how to gauge what I'm going through. We as men, most often times, we want to handle it on our own, make mistakes without any accountability from anybody. This is me, I'm gonna do it my way, and that's not a good thing to do. There's nothing wrong with, first, let me say it this way, we have to have wise counsel.
I got you.
We can't listen to everyone.
Okay.
So just because you walk 5 miles down the road, you may have ran through the woods on the highway right here on the left-hand side. So if I'm following the right person, we talk about mentorship of how to manage my life, how to be a responsible husband or responsible father. If we have that wise counsel in our life, it's very important to help us. Now, here's the deal. We still have our own decisions to make. We can listen, we can follow, but we still have to be responsible. There's a piece of advice my dad gives me all the time. He said, son, listen to what I'm saying, use what you can. The rest of it, let it go out your ear and try it yourself.
So I, like a lot of other men, have moved with a level of arrogance in that I thought that my way is the best way. I hear what you're saying, but what ended up happening is the way that I saw counseling, or having wise counsel even, is when you tell me something and I try what you tell me and it doesn't necessarily work out, I don't need to hear. If it was gonna fail, I could just fail doing it my way. right? So I had to understand that having someone tell me the way a thing should go doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to work perfectly. And so once I got that understanding, it's like, okay, let me first listen, just like you said, listen to what they're saying, and what I can apply to my life, right? And what I learned was, and I'm gonna bring it back to my relationship with my dad. So with my relationship with my dad, I like I said before, it is an evolving relationship where we try to get better and better.
Right.
But the majority of our relationship has been me looking at his infractions and saying, "This is who you are. I can't hear nothing." On the other side of that, because I go to church and I have all these people around me, when I go and I listen to a pastor, even if I don't necessarily like the way that he preaches, I still have my ear set to, if there's something for me in this conversation, in this sermon, whatever, I need to get it. Right. And so I had to go back to the drawing board in my relationship with my dad and say, and this happened recently, and say, it's something that he has, right? To want to see me do well, to not want me to go through some of the things that he went through. You don't want me to go 5 miles through the woods, but I can go 1 up the freeway, right? And so I had to kind of wash the slate clean with that. Let me listen to him. Right. Let me see what he has to say. Let me understand his point of view, his experiences in life, and how they can apply to me. Because he not just, like most men, he not just talking just to be talking, right? He ain't just sitting there having a conversation because I just want to say something. No, it's man, I see something. I had to deal with this way. This is some of the things that we face. Even if we think just as simple as our health, our familial health, right? So it's like the men of our family have XYZ going on. If I never allow him to give me the information or sit there and listen and take it in, that I could be moving any kind of way when, hey man, being obese or, having diabetes or XYZ, all is a part of how we live. You need to, if you can, start early working out, do XYZ, right? And so having a mentor or a counselor and being able to hear not just what you want to hear, right? Because that's one of our things too, is I like for you to tell me stuff that I like. Mm-hmm. It's very easy for me to listen to if you talking to me about the thing. Hey man, let me tell you how to get X amount of dollars. So let me tell you how to do this, and this. Let me tell you how to get this car, that car. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I like those things. So let me make some notes. Let me listen. Let me follow the plan. But if you're like, man, Corey, like the way that you talk to people, the way that you handle people is not right. You need to be doing X, Y, Z. And then all of a sudden, like you ain't really got nothing to say. Right. And so it is, for me, it has been a progression of, one, know who you are, that, you think you know everything, but you don't. Have people around you to hold you accountable to that, and then open your ears to hear what they have to say. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about from a mentorship side. Right. How do you deal with if you decide, man, I'm gonna talk to this guy, I know he needs some help and he's just not listening?
First, there's no magical blueprint book on everybody. But the first thing, if you want to talk about mentorship and serving the role as a mentor, you have to have active listening to that person of their experience, what they're seeing, what they are going through, and don't discourage or act like it's not happening. It is happening. First thing. Secondly, be authentic. As you said, most times, one thing you want to hear is the good things. You want to hear how easy it is to make $2,000, but you don't want to hear about the part going to job 40 hours a week, sometimes 60 hours a week. wise budgeting, and everything. We just want the instantaneous success of everything. Be open and responsive to that person. That's one of the things that I do at work. Every new employee, I sit down and I open myself up to them. These are the things that are going to make you successful here in this organization. If you apply these things, you're going to be successful. Watch out for the bumps in the road. Secondly, when you get to a bump in the road, come see me, come talk to me. But you got to be honest about your experience. So there's honesty on both sides of that equation. Mm-hmm. Can I be open and vulnerable to you and respect the wise counsel that you're going to get back to me? But now that is a very delicate process, especially when you talk about men, because most men don't want to be vulnerable to other men.
Correct.
Regardless of who it is.
Right.
Whether it's a father-son relationship, you're a father, I'm a father. How many times have our sons came and really opened themselves up until they hit the brick wall? Then, oh, Dad, can I talk to you about this? But if you had came to me before then, we could have got rid of it. Could have bypassed it. So it is being active listening, authentic, sitting down and listening to that person. And then the other most important part of that story is being patient with them. I don't know why we have fell into this brother microwave success.
Yeah.
Success don't happen instantaneously all the time. You know, when I look at like athletes, we talk about the debate, who is the greatest, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and we compare their body of work of what we've seen. But nobody talks about the many hours they spend in the gym when the cameras weren't on. The many heartbreaks that they had to go through, sacrifices that they had to make to get where they are.
I ain't gonna let you leave Kobe out.
Okay.
That's my guy. So, you know, one of the things, one of the things that I noticed about him was his desire to learn. And he would go to anybody. Right. It could be, the person that just beat him. It's like, okay, I need to understand how you did X, Y, Z. So, like you said, that desire, to want to be better, and then that vulnerability to have a relationship with another man, right, to say, man, these are my flaws. Pick through my flaws and help me be better. Right. That's a hard, that is a hard place. And so when you talk about, that's where you need really good leaders, right? So if you understand it from that standpoint, you have the type of leaders. Let's just talk about at work. Sometimes at work we have bosses that don't really care as much about the group. They know what their goal is. The company said you need to get to X percent. I'm getting X percent whether y'all with me or not. Right? And they just gonna go and they just gonna do. And I don't care who I hurt. I don't care what you got going on at home. Get me my percent. I want my 10% regardless of what's going on. But a good leader, a good leader is not concerned about whether you like me or not, but it is concerned about whether you receive what it is that I'm saying. Right. So if I can get you on my side and help you to understand, man, this is what the goal is, but I'm going to work with you. I'm going to show you everything you need to know so you can be successful in all the things that you do. I know it because this is how I lived. I went through the process. On my job, I started at the very bottom. I started as it was called a rotating account manager. So I worked for maybe 3 or 4 guys when they were all on vacation. I worked through their routes when they were off. So it's 4 different guys, 4 different attitudes, 4 different ways of doing things. And what I had to do is listen to each one and pull the best information from those guys. And that's how I became, good at my job. I know what it takes day in and day out to do it. And I created a list of best practices and implemented that into my life. And I walked the steps God blessed me to be, in the position that I am now. So when I have conversations with guys, just like you said, you have to be authentic. You have to tell them, what's going on, how you got to where you got to for real, right? And not just, man, I just pull myself up. No, I didn't pull myself up. I got in the door because somebody knew somebody that got me on the job. Now, once I got there, I started working.
Right.
I gave them. I put in my part. So being counseled or being mentored or even being a leader, there's something that you owe to the process. So we have to make sure, that whether you're the one that, need the counsel, I think all of us do, by the way, but whether you want the one that's getting counsel at this point or you're the one doing the counseling, you either owe, dedication to, I told this man I'm gonna call him and check on him once a week. I need to make sure to put that into my account. I can't let up on him just because he might not receive it. I was and I'm gonna let you talk, but I was in the I had signed up for the college ministry. And I said, I'm gonna call these boys and check on these boys while they're out of town and just see how they're doing and pray for them over the phone. So I call, sometimes they answer the phone, sometimes they don't. So I start texting, sometimes they text back, sometimes they don't. And then I was about to get frustrated with the whole situation because I'm like, well, what good is it if they're not going to answer? And it's like, well, no, consistency shows them that, okay, I have to be accountable to him now because he consistently calling my phone and praying for me through the voicemail or sending me a text through prayer, checking on me, XYZ. Eventually, those phone calls start picking up, right? Hey, yeah, I saw you called. I didn't really have a lot of time, blah, blah, blah. And so you building that relationship, right? Because I can't get you to tell me all your stuff or that you need my help with being better if I don't show you that I'm consistent in what I do. It don't work, right? I don't trust. So you said you were gonna call me every week. You call me in August, then I ain't hear from you again till September. Then you saw me at church in November, and then I ain't hear from you again till that inconsistency is where as men we out on that, right? And you got to show me every day that you are who you said you are. So, as a leader on my job, I have to be steadfast in the way that I am. Now, one of the things that benefit me at work is that we already have a list of do's and don'ts that we just have to, it just is what it is. This is what it is. This is how we live. But outside of work, when we just deal with each other, it's not as many rules that dictate how we can and cannot communicate with each other. And so I think a lot of that is the reason why it's like I don't really trust men as much because I can see them in one place. I can see you at work and you one way. I can see you at church and you one way. And then when I see you outside, that you somebody else. And so, for me to look at a man and say, man, I look up to that guy. I trust him. I see how he moves. I see what he's doing and say, yes, that's somebody I can listen to. It is because I'm looking at you full circle, right? I'm not just looking at, I was talking to a kid once and he was like, man, if you don't make $100,000, you can't tell me nothing. Okay. At the time you didn't have a job. And so to the conversation from a guy that's making $100,000 to someone that's making $0, you're going to get lost in that. You're not going to understand anything that he's saying, right? That guy that's closer to you, might be able to reach you a little bit better. And so being open to hear people that may even fail in the area that you need counseling might be a thing. When I was married, I made a commitment that I would not listen to a man you can't tell me nothing about marriage. If you're not married or you divorced, you can't tell me nothing. Yours failed. What you gonna tell me? And then when I went through mine, right? When I went through my divorce, and it's like, okay, arrogant Corey, have a seat. Let's look at it. Because now you can see all the things that you did wrong. And when you see people going through that same stuff, this is the information that you could share. So you could have listened and missed some of this, but since you didn't, eat the plate you made, right? And now go do the thing that you said you would never listen to anybody do. So how do you typically? I mean, because some people they need that relationship, but 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna have too many people just come up to you and say, "Miss Leah, I need you to mentor me." So how do you engage with the guys and say, "Hey, look, you know, is it just a conversation? You just slip little nuggets in there from time to time, like, hey man, why don't you try this, try that?" What's typically your direction or way to get to guys?
There has to be a desire first to want to do that. Anything that you're trying to do, there has to be a desire to want to do. You research, you find out everything that you have at your disposal to do. Even with the good Lord, He doesn't force anything on us.
Correct.
He allows enough room for us to research. So when there's a young man coming to me and wants to sit down and talk, we find that common ground and interest. Where is it you're interested in, what you're trying to do? Here is Leon's #1 rule: my time is money, and I don't waste it. If you are really serious about being successful and what you want to do, here is my phone number. I promise to you I'll be available to you at any time. But the first sense that I get that you're trying to hustle my time, we're done. Okay, because there is no authentic self-assurance that you're trying to be. You're trying to find a get rich quick scheme.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're trying to find something instantaneous, and it's not. It is a long road that you walk down. There's many different avenues that's going to pop up and come up. And are you man enough to handle the adversity? So we're both sports fanatics. Prime example in the Olympics. The United States is playing certain. We're down 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
But we've sent the best of the athletes that we have. That they sat in the huddle and they buckled down, went to their strengths, overcame the 17-point differential, and won the gold medal. How many men who are down really want to come to another man and be real and say, hey, this is who I am. How can I get back? How can you slowly help me walk and get back to what I need to be? And you got to have some honesty there. So if we are able to, as you said, find where we fit, take that arrogance out. My grandma used to say, with a hard head, make it soft behind.
Mm-hmm.
Take that arrogance out. These are the things that hurt me. So I'm with you for my first marriage. I was a terror. I caused everything that grew inside me. And it had to take me with my mentor, turn around and showing a mirror horror that I was. And I didn't want to see that person. I've shared with it. I even ran away from the gospel because I didn't want to see and deal with what I had become. But God coming back to me, Leon, I still got to work for you to do. You ain't did nothing that ain't nobody else done. But you got to forgive yourself first. So I go back to that mentor, I apologize to him, and then all of a sudden we start rebuilding. So now I can be open and honest about my past failures. Now here's the deal. You can listen to me or you can't. There's nothing new under the sun. There is a secret to this success. There is a faith that you have to believe in and walk in, and other trust that you have to have in the good Lord, that He has your best interest in everything that you're trying to do. Key to that is don't discount anybody that you know. Even a homeless man can give you some advice to help you out. He may not can tell you how everything is happening, but if you sit down and what I call active listening, you can get those small nuggets that you need to be successful in what you need to accomplish.
So being, doing that, actively listening, and also putting ourselves in a position where, we are open to really be honest and because a lot of times, we really just lie to everybody, right? And it's like, well, I look this way. I'm not going, I'm not going to show weakness, or I'm not going to show people what I really got going on. I'm going to put on this facade, and we're going to ride this facade till it's over. So what you're telling me is the only way that relationship works between a mentor, a counselor, with the mentee, a counselee, is for them both to be, completely open and honest about the things that they have experienced or done or said or thought, or whatever those cases are. So it's difficult sometimes. I'm a lot better than I am now. I mean, I'm just like you said in that first marriage. We sat down with a counselor, and I'm like, I told the lady, I said, I just believe that everybody lies. I don't believe anybody tells the truth. I don't believe that anybody ever gives completely all of themselves, and it just is what it is. I just accept the fact that it's just never going to be that way. I'm never going to be, what people expect of me. I'm never going to be enough, because the things that I lie about and I hold on to, I'm going to keep lying about and holding on to, right? But then when you're talking about having a mentor or somebody that's giving you wise counsel, it's like, well, that's not a good way to live. One, because you never get anything completely that you need, because you always blocking off something. We think we blocking off, we putting up a wall or whatever to keep people and things out. And realistically, what we do is we cage in the hurt so it continue to hurt us people. And so it's like, we keep that wall up, and in our mind, the wall works to keep people out. But the pain that we've already suffered is behind that wall, right? And it is close to my heart. It is very dear to me. And when things happen, I'm reminded of it. And, I almost pray to look like a baby. When the reality is, I got to have a conversation, right? I got to hear when Miss Leah say, Corey, you just been running around, you've been wasting your time, you procrastinate, XYZ. Now, you trying to get inside my box. I need to open my box up, because not only am I allowing the wisdom that you have to penetrate my heart, now I can let out all that other stuff that I've been holding on to. So it's a two-way street all the way around, that when we have, wise counsel, not only, are we listening to what's said, we're trusting them with our secrets. We're trusting them with the most delicate parts of ourselves. And typically when you talk about men, we don't talk about delicate parts, right? That's not typically a word that we use, but we have things in us that are sensitive to us. And it's a hard thing for me to share that. But if I want the things that I say that I want, right? If I want to get married again, or have good relationships with my kids, or be a leader in my neighborhood and in my community, I have to have someone that can say, Corey, that's right, Corey, that's wrong. And then I listen and put forth some kind of effort to change, right? Understanding that God is ultimately that big God, leader, mentor in the sky, but he also gives that information to our brothers around us. They can say, hey man, I've been through that. I'm on marriage number 2, or I'm on marriage number 1 with the asterisk, because we almost, it almost went this way. So having all the information, having people around us that not only have wisdom, but care about what happens to us. Right? So I think, fellas, we need each other. A lot of times we have conversations. I was talking to some people about the podcast, and they're like, man, I ain't really, all God like that. And I'm like, well, but you have wisdom, you have insight, you have experience and knowledge that people need, right? I can't sit there and say, the Bible is the only place I get knowledge from. I wouldn't. My job, if all I did was look at the Bible, I would fail at this point because we don't sell Bibles. You know, we sell software. So it takes the balance of understanding and experience to have a whole man. The expectation for this podcast is for us to have real one-on-one conversation, but understand that ultimately it is God that heals us. Right. And so when you talk about, you know, our experience, when you talk about mentorship, when you talk about needing these things, we have to remember that even though I got Leon got me, he got his mentor outside of this, we need God. It is him who is the one that ultimately leads and guides us, right? This is our I don't want to say practice. It is a part of the development of relationship with him. When we completely trust him, then we're able to kind of see how this works for my good, how mentorship, how counseling works for my good. Man, I always appreciate the conversations that we have, you know, and the expectation is that not only are we having a conversation, but we put what we talk about to action in our lives, right? That we share it with other people and we understand that it's not just a conversation, but we heal too. So next time with the He Heals Too podcast, we will be dealing with daddy issues. Okay. We tried it once before, but this time we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna have that conversation. Some tough conversation last time. I've grown a lot since then in my relationship with my dad. I'm gonna say this real quick, and we're gonna be moving out. But I saw my dad not long ago. My sister, Dr. Madeline Finley, got a doctorate from Jacksonville State University. Super proud of her. My dad came into town and they were up there by me, and he called me. Hey, you know, I know you're busy, but can we sit down? So we sat down and talked for an hour, and that was one of the times I was just like, shut off what you think you know about this man and listen to what he's saying. Right. And so he was just feeding me, you know, wisdom and knowledge. And then before we left, he hugged. Wow. And so when he hugged me, I felt like a uncomfortableness about it, because it was like, this feels okay to enjoy, right? It feels okay to enjoy, but also uncomfortable because I don't know what to do with my emotions. Right. It's one of my first experiences where I'm open to, you know, allow him in. What it reminded me of was a movie. Can't think of the name of the movie right now, but the little boy hugged Damon Wayans. He hugged Damon Wayans, and Damon Wayans for a second was like, "Oh, okay," and then he put him in a full Nelson. I was like, "What you trying to do? What's your major pain?" It's like, well, you know, what you trying to do? What you come to do? That's kind of how I felt. I didn't put my dad in the full Nelson, but I did like think through those processes. And then on my way home, I thought about when I had made a statement about not needing that from my dad. A lot of times we don't know what we need when we haven't experienced it. You know, we there's again, I had put up a wall, you know, to keep him away, not realizing that he had something that I needed. Right. So when we talk about daddy issues next month, you need to be online, you need to be paying attention, because it's gonna be some good stuff. It's gonna be some me telling my business. It's also gonna be growth, right? Because that's what it's all about. That's what we need. So until next time, remember that we heal because he heals us.